We are going to get started with the press conference today. We have a number of speakers, both labor leaders. We have some elected officials that are joining us today, which we really appreciate hearing from. And we are going to get started. We're here today because Luke Sillis, who was a key member of our union, has been wrongfully terminated. And so you're going to hear from him and our attorney, Mike Dolce, just a little bit about what's going on, and then we're going to hear from our elected officials. All right, Luke. And just say your name and spell it, too.
Okay. Hi, I'm Luke Sills. That's spelled L-U-K-E, last name S-I-L-L-S. I've been an employee of this hotel for over 2 years now. I work at the front desk. I'm currently, I was a front desk supervisor here. And in my time at this hotel, I was the employee of the month, then I was the employee of the year. And since then, I've received nothing but praise from my managers, for doing good work, and being great at my job. But that all changed last year when I joined the organizing committee to help organize a union at this hotel. They pulled me personally into this meeting, Steve and Nicole, the general manager and the HR director, where they interrogated me, they threatened me, and they told me that I was going to regret getting involved in this. And over the course of our campaign, I watched them fire a lot of my coworkers for supporting the union and helping lead the campaign, as well as surveil all of us, threaten a lot of other workers, and just generally create a toxic and hostile work environment to pressure people to quit, and instead of sticking around to try to make the place better. Since then, this summer, the NLRB has issued an official complaint, saying that they found merit in a lot of our charges against the hotel, and they are gonna, pursue back pay and reinstatement for some of those fired workers, as well as a Gissel bargaining order, basically saying the hotel broke the law in ways that were so egregious, that there's no way that workers could have fair election here. The hotel should be compelled to start bargaining with their union. And we've started escalating out here too. We've been picketing. I've been standing by that door, as is my right as an employee, like 5 days a week, leafleting guests as they go inside, letting them know about the hotel's immoral and illegal union busting conduct. And I think for that reason, I got a call yesterday that I am terminated. I'm fired, and I will no longer be working here. They told me that they had found a few small mistakes that I had made, mistakes which some of my coworkers were also involved in making, and which normally would never lead to a termination. I've never even seen lead to a write-up. But for that reason, I'm fired. And I think it's really obvious what it is. It's really obvious that it's retaliation, that they were hoping I would just quit on my own, but now with everything going on, with the trial scheduled in October, with the leafleting, with the picketing, I even actually last month I drove with a van full of current and fired Hyatt workers to go see Hyatt's headquarters, to talk with someone from corporate about the union busting happening at one of their hotels. And I think for all these reasons they decided, even if they don't have a good case, it's better to get rid of me, so I'm not in there and out here. So I think that's all I had to say. Thank you.
We'll do questions at the end. Now we're going to hear from Michael Dolce, who is our attorney who's been working on the legal case against the Hyatt.
I am Mike Dolce, attorney for the union, DOLCE. The union wanted me to speak today just to alert everyone that yes, the union has filed an unfair labor practice charge this morning, alleging 3 violations of the act, which were Luke's. They gave him a final written warning on August 6th, they suspended him on August 6th, and then they terminated him less than a week later on August 12th, yesterday. The union believes that this is all part of the same unlawful course of conduct in response to the organizing campaign that launched last year. The NLRB has largely sided with the union in its investigation of our charges against the employer, and has issued a formal complaint, as Luke said, and is going to be prosecuting the company at a hearing at the NLRB office on South Elmwood this October. There's potential for this allegation, depending on the investigation, to be included in that complaint. The board does have the administrative process to include it. We just don't know at this time whether they will. In response to the NLRB's complaint against Aimbridge Employee Service Corp., the company that manages the employees here at the Hyatt Regency in downtown Buffalo, the employer has, in their answer to the administrative complaint, has raised a lot of the same things that Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all those big employers have been doing in recent years, challenging the constitutionality of the NLRB, essentially just saying, maybe if we did even violate these laws, doesn't even matter. The Constitution doesn't allow the federal government to prosecute us for these. Obviously, the union believes that is just a way for big-pocketed employers to undermine the fundamental rights of workers to organize, and the union will do everything in its power to fight large employers like that in every way that we can, through press actions like this and legally. So, yes, I believe that's what you wanted me to include. Yeah. All right, so let it go.
Next, going to invite up here Sean Ryan, our state senator, and also the Democratic nominee for mayor of the city of Buffalo.
Thanks for having me. Well, we're here again. I was here when it was cold out. Now I'm here again when it's warm out, because the Hyatt doesn't seem to understand the basic laws that govern America. Americans are allowed to join unions. Americans are allowed to come together to use their collective will to bargain contracts. And what we see here going on is what we see happening all throughout America, and that's been happening for a long time, is the employers use every tool in the toolbox to defeat a union. And in this case, it looks like they're resorting to unfair terminations in an effort to break the movement, to break the continuity, to break the vibe inside of wanting to come together. But these are fruitless efforts, because, the companies like the Hyatt, they have to come into the modern age. The data shows you want a unionized workforce. A unionized workforce stays longer in their jobs. The unionized workforce reports greater job satisfaction, greater commitment to their job, greater involvement in outside activities, trying to make the community better. So the Hyatt's got to stop doing what it's doing. They got to come and negotiate with their employees. They can't try to change out their employees to see if they get a better group. But the order that the attorney Dolce talked about, these are orders that are almost never given. They're so rare. They're only issued after the most egregious conduct has been found. And that conduct has been found. So we are better off with this hotel being unionized. They'll get a better workforce out of it. They'll get more people staying at the hotel, and they'll get a higher rate of customer satisfaction. So I call on the Hyatt to do the right thing, to follow the laws of the United States, and to allow their workforce the freedom to unionize if that is their choice. But I applaud all the workers who have been at this for many, many months. You got to keep it going, because if you quit now, they're going to go back to their old ways. So keep it going. A lot of work in front of us, and I trust at the end of this process, we'll have a unionized hotel right here in Buffalo. Thank you, everybody.
Next, I want to invite up Erie County Legislative District 2 Representative Taisha St. Jean-Tard.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I want to first start out saying that since I've been in the office, I've been working with all these workers. And I've heard the stories. I sit on the board. If I could tell you half the testimonies that I heard, it would be extremely disturbing. No one deserves to not get paid their worth.
That's right.
No one deserves not to be able to fight for what's right. Working conditions that I heard, hours that were getting cut, people who had not a really strong English language background was getting treated worse because of it. Those are just small things. And then on top of it, you fired the employee of the year? How does that make sense? So I am so proud to stand here and to be shoulder to shoulder with all these workers, because they deserve not only fair wages, strong working conditions, but most importantly, they deserve to be a union. We're not in the business of allowing bullies to continue bullying others. They've been watched on cameras. They've been talked negatively about. Some of these employees even had their social media put on a slideshow. That's the type of environment that this has been. They brought in a firm from Florida to tell them they can't be a union. How does that make sense? So today I am not only angry that these workers are getting treated this way, but I'm more angry that Luke, who was an employee of the year, who is a great guy, who loves this experience to be able to treat customers the right way, that he got fired just because he knows that having a union is the right thing to do. So I'm standing here firmly. I got your back, as I mentioned before, and we're not going to stop until you guys are a union. Thank you.
There you go.
Next, going to invite Erie County Legislator from District 1, Lawrence Dupree.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Lawrence Dupree, Erie County Legislator for your 1st District, and I'm very proud to stand here with our union brothers and sisters to show the support. They need to be negotiated with. They deserve to be a union if that is the will of the workers, and they deserve that right, and deserve a discussion about how they can move the Hyatt further and how we can make it better. The people here, they deserve a livable wage. They deserve the protections of a union, and this is something that isn't negotiable. This is something that I hate that we have to stand up here and we have to show that we have to push back for, because they want to be paid a livable wage and be treated in the way that they deserve. So I am very proud, and I will say very clearly that I stand here in support of the Workers United and them unionizing. That is their right, and they should not have people taking illegal maneuvers to stop them. They should not have great workers fired. They need to be respected. These are a part of Buffalo, a part of our community, and they need to be treated like it. We are very appreciative of Hyatt and what they've done for the community, but that doesn't stop. They need to take care of their workers, and I'm glad to stand here again, and whenever they need me to, I will be here. I will be at their service, because these are important, that we need to make sure our workers are treated in a way that they deserve. So thank you again for giving me the opportunity to stand behind and show my support. Thank you.
Our last speaker of the day is Gary Bonadonna Jr., who is the president of Workers United Upstate New York and Vermont, and he's going to close us out, and then we will take questions.
All right, Gary.
Thank you.
Woo!
Hi, as Casey said, I'm Gary Bonadonna. I lead the union here in upstate New York and Vermont. In closing, I'll just keep this short and sweet. This company's conduct is infuriating. Doug Jamal and the Hyatt Corporation and the local managers here, they're bullies, plain and simple. And how do you deal with bullies? You stand up to them. They underestimate this union, and they underestimate the city of Buffalo. So bullies respond to strength, so let's show them how strong we are. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Gary.
Thank you to all of our speakers. I know folks have to leave too, if you have to leave now, but we're going to take some questions. If there's any questions.
What communication has there been with Douglas Development, and if not, what message do you want to share with them for everybody?
Yeah. So we've reached out to Douglas Development since the beginning of the campaign. Actually, the day that we announced our campaign to local management here, we sent the same announcement to Douglas Development. After management started firing workers, we reached out again and wanted to give him an opportunity, Douglas Jamal or Norman Jamal, an opportunity to step in and make things right, and they did not respond to that either. So we've tried at least those 2 times. Maybe there was another time that we tried to reach out to them that I'm forgetting, and they've ghosted us.
What was that tipping point when all of you were like, all right, this is it, we need to start talking?
I mean, I think there's been talks about organizing here for a long time. There was an attempt in the winter before we launched our campaign where a lot of folks in housekeeping were talking about it, but it sort of fizzled out. There's a lot of fear around this in general, and I think that's especially true for good reason for folks who are like new Americans, like immigrants or refugees from other countries. And so we'd been talking about it since then, at least, and probably before I got there as well.
Can you just talk about just the background here in terms of when you started discussions to organize? This was like last year.
Yeah, what's the question? Sorry.
Just kind of the background information here of when you guys started to organize and get the word out there about this.
Yeah, well, I guess basically a year ago, it was. I'm going to forget the dates a little bit, but it was basically July when we announced our campaign. We had been organizing for several months quietly before then, to figure out how to do this. But July is when we announced our campaign. I think we petitioned for an election in August, and then throughout the month of September, that's when heads started to roll, and they fired a number of workers, very pro-union leaders in their departments.
And then I don't know if you guys heard, but the New York Energy Democracy Alliance canceled their retreat here in solidarity with you all. What was your message to them after them doing that?
I think that was incredible, and I really respect organizations like them who, on principle, will not patronize a hotel that is not respecting their workers' rights. And I really appreciate that they were willing to do that. One thing that they let us know, which I think is maybe important to get out there too, is that the hotel is denying even the existence of a labor dispute here. That when they reached out to the hotel said, "What are you talking about? There's no union organizing effort. There's no labor dispute." And obviously there is. I mean, we have the rat here 5 days a week, but even to deny the fact that there is a legal complaint against the hotel, that they're pursuing a bargaining order against the hotel, just pretend that that's not true, is extremely disgusting to me.
And where do you guys go from here?
Just to add to that, in addition to that group, the union has not called for a boycott, but organizations have taken it upon themselves to say we're not going to deal with this. So the Teamsters, the IBEW, Southwest Airlines have all either canceled rooms or have said that they're going to cancel rooms, and that we haven't asked them to do that. That's just they've done that just on the principle of it. And just wanted to add that it's been many organizations and some very large clients at this point.
Same with the UAW too.
Yeah.
And then, where do you guys go from here?
I think that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, we're filing these charges. We have our trial for the initial set of charges in October, but I think you've asked a good question.